Just doing a walk around Ogden, Utah. There's the Wasatch Mountains to the east. I'm panning south. West. The railroad yard is down here about a half mile. I guess I could walk towards it unless it's too bright in the camera. I may just walk. I'll just go north. Yeah, my mom lives in Baton Rouge, and she sent me a text a while ago, and I hadn't really watched the news or weather at all, and she said there was a hurricane heading their way. So I got my weather app and looked, and sure enough, my God, it's nearly Category 5 now, 150 mile an hour winds is a Hurricane Laura, but it's positioned just south of Cameron, Louisiana. And I looked up the barometric pressure in the eye, and it's down to 940 millibars, which is about 28 inches barometric pressure. And it's pretty low. And the record, I believe, was Hurricane Irma or Wilma. It got down to like 883 millibars. I believe it was the lowest barometric pressure recorded in the Western Hemisphere. But I remember Hurricane Gilbert in like 89 or somewhere around there, 90, had set the record for lowest barometric pressure. It was like 885 millibars. That's the one that hit near Matamoros and Brownsville. But the projected path has it coming on shore right where I'm from in Port Arthur, Beaumont area. And it looked up the tides, the high tide times, and it's 9:50 a.m. high tide for Sabine Pass, Port Aransas, Lake Sabine, right on the border of Louisiana and Texas. And it's coming in. It's the second tide of the day, so it's going to be a little lower because of the moon. But still, they're expecting 20-foot tidal surge as far as 30 miles inland. And Port Arthur is essentially sitting on marsh. So you go 30 miles inland and your elevation is still under 20 foot. And I was trying to tell my mom a little bit about hurricanes, that several things have to come into play. You have to have a ocean temperature of 80 degrees at least. And you have something that's got to trigger it, like a stalled frontal system out in the Gulf, or a tropical wave which comes off the coast of Africa over by the Antilles. They're usually 2 degrees north of the equator and 10 degrees in that in between the 10 degree and 2 degrees north of the equator. It's called the ITCZ, the Intertropical Conversion Zone. And that's an east to west flow pattern the tropical waves take off the coast of Africa. And they got all that ocean to cross, almost 5,000 miles to get organized. Then you have to have a high pressure system aloft in the upper atmosphere. That's to kind of take the heat away. Because basically what a hurricane is it's just something huge that regulates the water temperature. Comes together and it takes all the heat out of the ocean. Well, not all the heat. It takes that excess heat, spins it out up in the stratosphere. If you ever look on satellite images of a hurricane, you look at the cirrus clouds, the real wispy clouds up right along the top. You'll see them spinning in a clockwise motion while the lower clouds spin in a counterclockwise around that low, around the eye. But this one, it looks like hurricane force winds extend about 50 miles from the eye wall. So it's just a little small area around the eye with the 150 mile an hour winds, and you go out to tropical storm force winds. But it's just a tropical storm if it's 72 mile an hour winds or less. But once the wind speed reaches 73 miles an hour, something magical happens in that storm. It forms an eye, and that warm, moist air goes straight up in that eye, up into the upper atmosphere where it's dispersed out. And all that heat that's dispersed out in the stratosphere comes from the ocean. And a lot of big Category 5 storms will actually chill themselves out a little bit. It'll be a Category 5 for like 12 hours, but the wind and the sea and the waves are so high that it churns up cooler water from underneath the surface of the ocean. And that cooler water causes a slight weakening of the hurricane. And plus the wave heights, 80 to 100 foot waves, that creates friction, kind of like trees and buildings do once a hurricane hits inland. Then the winds will die down to like 160. I think that's when it becomes Category 5, winds of 161. But, yeah, because Hurricane Gilbert did that too. I remember I think I was still a teenager when Gilbert hit. And that was around Matamoros, Brownsville. But I told her, you're in Baton Rouge, you might see 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And I just looked at the radar for Baton Rouge, and the first outer band of precipitation from the hurricane passed through. It was just a thin line of thunderstorms. It's about another 2 hours before it starts raining in Baton Rouge again, but it's supposed to hit inland around 4 a.m., between 4 and 6 a.m. And they're expecting a little wind shear when it moves a little further northwest. There's an upper level wind flow. What wind shear does is it kind of cuts off the top of the cloud. It shears, that's why they call it wind shear. And that usually will weaken the hurricane because it interferes with that heat distribution. And so I hadn't heard anything else about the wind shear since this morning. But it blows that whole like cirrus cloud to the side, and it's not uniform, so it kind of makes the hurricane a little unorganized. But the eye is formed really, really good. It's perfectly round, about 50 miles across. So I'm going to be keeping that eye on that every hour until it makes landfall, just to calm my mom down. She's really upset. But Port Arthur, Beaumont, and Cameron, as far east as Lake Charles, and probably around Dayton, Texas, almost to Houston's going to get hit really bad. They're saying 600,000 people are being mandatory evacuation right now. But here's a better look at the Wasatch. I don't know how I got on that, talking about hurricanes. Stuff like that goes through my mind all day. Yeah, there's a trail that goes up there. Me and Dawn went on it when I lived here about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I stayed with them maybe 3 weeks here. That's what I mean by live with them. I didn't like permanently live. But Ron is on a route right now. He was in Livingston, Montana about 2 hours ago. His normal route. He goes through Yellowstone, and let me back up a little bit. Then he runs to Williston, North Dakota, and he delivers produce and food goods for Albertsons. Then he drives back, and he'll be back Friday. We're going to clean out the cab and the sleeper and get some of Dawn's stuff out of the way, and then make room for me. And I'm going to go with him on a run with him up through Yellowstone Park. Livingston, Montana. That's on the MRL, the major repair line. I mean, the mentally retarded line, and the Montana Rail Link, all the way to Laurel. Then Laurel, it turns into the Burlington Northern Santa Fe and goes south to Graybull, Casper, Cheyenne, Denver. Going north, it goes up to Great Falls, and then Great Falls, you can get to Shelby, Montana on the High Line. That connects with east and west flow from Seattle to Minneapolis. So I'm going to get a lot of really good video. Because every night, him and Dawn, when they're doing their route, they stop right by the railroad yard and watch the action. So I'll be with Ron maybe 3 days. And I'll probably part paths with Ron in Williston and head back Tennessee. So in Williston, they stop. Burlington Northern Santa Fe stops there a lot. They used to crew change there too. I'll get on and ride to Minneapolis to Chicago. In Chicago, I'll probably take CSX to Avon, Indianapolis. Then from there, I can go down Evansville, Nashville, Knoxville, and maybe they'll have that derail cleaned up that's just southwest of Johnson City a couple of days ago. If not, when I get to Knoxville, I'll just take a bus, because nothing stops in Johnson City. So regardless, I'm going to have to take a bus, whether it's Bristol or Knoxville, just to get back home to Johnson City. Yeah, I remember this lady in this house right here. I didn't know I was shaking that bad. She used to have a bunch of wild roses. She'd let you pick them, and she'd sit there and tell you about roses all day long. I don't know if she died or moved out, but I don't see no more rose bushes. Just those bean pod trees. I can't remember what they're called. Leave a comment if you know what kind of tree this is. Got them big old bean pods on it in the fall. I'll show you the leaf. You can recognize it. It's got a funky name. I can't remember what they're called. Oh, I'm zoomed. That's what it is. Sorry about that. Now I can get a little closer. God, that reminds me of them. When I was a kid, there was this like clown or some kind of shaped funny character that squirted water out for the kids. You'd run and jump. A Mr. Whirly or something. But anyway, I'm going to see. I may not upload this. Sitting there yakking about meteorology. But yeah, that's going to be some good videos coming up. And I'll try to get Ron to talk about some of his experiences with riding. He started riding in 1984. I started in 89. So he was riding when Western Pacific was still a railroad. UP now. But we were watching some train videos yesterday before he left. It was a WP. It was a 1950s era. Had a bunch of safety videos in it, and it showed where the WP, the Western Pacific, ran. And it showed passenger stops and showed freight and cabooses. I call them crummy. A caboose, a crummy. But wow, that's a big block. But anyway, yeah, Ron gave me this shirt. Salt Lake City, but I'm doing laundry tomorrow before I go, and I got two of my favorite railroad shirts. Then I got my Alaska Grown shirt, my favorite one. It's hard to believe they make gin out of that. I think You know, back when I drank, I hardly ever drink gin. It just reminded me of drinking liquid 2x4. I just never could stand the taste of gin or tequila. Cactus liquor, Christmas tree liquor. Yeah, I was a beer man. When I did drink liquor, it was rare. It was vodka. That old nasty Kamchatka. But I hope this video is not too shaky. Almost back, or unless I pass it. God, I didn't realize I had walked this far. Well, next time I got a long walk, I'll talk about hurricanes and get there quicker. But anyway, I may have just rambled on too much. I'll review the video. If I do upload it, let me know if you got this far into the video to the end. That way I can see whose attention I held all the way to the end. Yeah, I know where I'm at now. It's kind of hard when you can see about 8-10 foot. No, beyond that, I still see, I can tell what's a tree, what's the sidewalk, what's the grass and road. It's just I can't tell no depth. Everything's silhouette, and it's like two colors, dark and a light. That's why a lot of people don't understand. At night, I can actually get around better because all the colors and the light and the contrast are all not flooded out. See, I can tell that's a sidewalk. And looking through the camera right now, I can see it a lot better. Now, like for a walk like this, I don't need my glasses because I'm not really having to judge depth. But when I'm in the rail yard, I'm always wearing them new glasses I got. Those help immensely. I didn't think I was going to go to the railroad yard. I didn't bring them, but I bring them glasses everywhere if I go down to the rail yard. They really have helped a lot. Anyway, if you get this far, leave me a comment. And I will sign off. We're almost home. I might as well walk all the way back. This is Billy's house. Billy's a friend of Ron and Dawn. He's had surgery and had a couple of toes removed. So we cleaned the house real good for him to come home to. Did some stuff, hit the laundry and dishes. And we're kind of just tending to him till his home health care provider can take over, which should be tomorrow. But it's a little one-bedroom house. It's kind of, I don't know, Spanish style looking. And there's a family that lives there, one that lives downstairs, and then Billy. And Dawn's over too right now helping while Ron's away in the truck. And like I said, Friday I'll be heading out. So it'll probably be Saturday when I start uploading videos on the trip. I'll try to do some Yellowstone too. Alrighty, I will gopher, Gopher now.